Alright, so we recently covered the process of cellular respiration. And now it's time to move on to the process of creating energy in plants, in plant cells. And that is through something called photosynthesis. And the gist of photosynthesis is it converts light energy to chemical energy, which is used as food in plants. So, photosynthesis. So photosynthesis can be summarized into a series of reactions, and the reactions can be shown by this one equation. As you can see, 6 carbon dioxide, 12 water molecules plus light energy, and then you create sugar, 6 oxygen molecules, and 6 H2O. So that's the summary of the photosynthesis equation, and that equation can actually be simplified even more into this equation, where you just have 6 carbon dioxide, 6 H2O, light energy, creating sugar, and 6 O2. So the sugar is glucose in this case. And so to make that reaction happen, it goes through 2 stages in photosynthesis, and that is there's 2 stages, and they are light reactions and Calvin cycle. So it's pretty easy to differentiate these two. So the light reaction, as you can see in the name, light, so obviously it involves light. So it's the photo part, which means light, while the Calvin cycle is the synthesis part. So basically the light reaction, what it does is it takes in water, splits it, releases oxygen, and it also reduces NAD plus to NADPH, which we will cover later on. And most importantly, it generates ATP from ADP. And to do all this, light energy is required, obviously, and that's why it's called light reaction. And while the Calvin cycle involves the synthesis of the sugar molecule, or the glucose, and it does that using the ATP and NADPH, which was created in the light reaction. So these two processes need to work together, and let me just show you a quick diagram right here. As you can see, light reactions creates ATP and NADPH, and then it's used by the Calvin cycle to create sugar, and then so therefore it goes back to ADP and NAD plus, and it's just a cycle, light reaction takes in light and keeps creating more ATP and NADPH for the Calvin cycle to use again, and it also creates oxygen gas. So yeah, that's how these two processes work together, and we'll go in more detail in next videos on how the reactions work. And another thing to keep in mind in photosynthesis is the type of light that gets absorbed. So obviously it's visible light that gets absorbed by plants, and it's not it, so visible light ranges from the range of 380 to 750 nanometers, and not all of the light will be absorbed. So for example, plants appear green to us, and that's because the green light range, green light is green light is reflected, and that's why plants appear green to us. So therefore, if we shine just green light onto a plant, it won't be able to make energy as effectively because most of the light will be reflected. And that's where pigments come in. So pigments are substances in a plant that absorb visible light. And there's different pigments, and they absorb different wavelengths. And so the 3 types of pigments in plants, and they're located in the chloroplast, they consist of chlorophyll A, chlorophyll B, and carotenoids. I think that's how you pronounce them. But the main one is chlorophyll A, which is it captures the most light. basically. And the rest, chlorophyll B and carotenoids, are just accessory pigments. And each pigment absorbs a different range of light wavelength. So that's why they need to help each other so they can absorb different wavelengths of light. But yeah, and it also explains the phenomenon why leaves change color like in the fall. It's because chlorophyll A, which reflects green light, it dies out during the fall, while carotenoids still exist and it dies a lot longer. So carotenoids on the other hand reflects orange and red light. That's why during the fall leaves appear red and orange. So yeah, that's how those pigments work. They basically absorb different wavelengths of light and they just help each other. And let's see. I think that's all I want to go over for now as an introduction. Let's see. Oh, and one more thing, carotenoids, they function in something called photoprotection, which is they absorb excessive light that would damage chlorophyll. That's what the carotenoids are for, to absorb excessive light. And yeah, that's it. That's just a good introduction to photosynthesis, and in the next videos we're gonna go over light reactions and Calvin cycle and alternate mechanisms for these reactions. Yeah, photosynthesis, it's gonna be fun.